This is the FRC Roundtable, coming to you all the way from Minnesota. Your host team 2052 Nightcrawler presents this weekly FRC gathering where first robotics competition teams take cooperation off the field. Share your knowledge, give and get advice, solve a challenge, or celebrate what makes your team special. 3, 2, 1, go!
All right, there we go. Recording has been started. Welcome everybody. I'm glad you could join us. I know that the season's winding down and people are trying to decide if they still want to prioritize robotics or not. I know that's when do we stop robotics is always kind of a common question for myself and my team. But we're going to run these meetups through the end of May, and then we'll take the summer off. So after tonight, we've got 3 left. But tonight we have Kirk. Kirk's out of Bemidji. I forgot your team number. You just said it, Kirk. What was your team number again?
4674.
The Robojacks, right?
Robojacks.
All right.
I have Quinn on here as well, and we'll kind of tag team this. Excellent.
Thank you, Quinn. Thanks for joining us tonight. All right, the floor is yours. Go ahead. Take it away.
All right. Well, as mentioned, I'm Kirk Anderson, and I've got Quinn on, and we're just going to talk about unified robotics. Dasso, did I get the name right or close? And I ran into each other down at the championships, and we just we feel very strong that this is something that we want to make available to all of our FRC teams as well as the students in their schools. So Quinn, I'm going to let you kind of introduce this, and I'm going to share the screen. Let's see here, Chrome tab, there we go. So that you guys have something to look at.
All right, can you hear me? Okay.
Yep, sounds great.
So this season we started Unified Robotics in northern Minnesota, and can you go to Y? We started these teams because 21.7% of our school district uses special education resources. These students don't typically get a lot of STEAM opportunities. Unified Robotics changes that. Robotics programs introduce these students to STEAM careers and helps them succeed in career paths. Unified Robotics also helps these students gain communication and leadership skills. This is a program that brings students of all abilities together to build LEGO Spike Prime robots and compete in regionals. Students work on teams of 2 to 6 members with a 1-to-1 ratio of athletes or students with intellectual disabilities and partners, students without. Their 2023 game was called Buccaneer. Teams would build pirate ships armed with cannons to defend their port while attacking others. These are pictures of an example robot in the field. Through funding with United Way and the Fee-Fi Fo Fum grant, we started 2 teams in Bemidji and helped start 2 others in Red Lake. We also hosted the first Unified Robotics Regional in the Midwest at our high school with 35 people participating. Kirk, you're muted.
Thank you. So yeah, that's kind of a quick overview of what it is. Do you guys have any questions so far? And then I'll kind of talk into more of the stories behind it here. Okay. So to me, one of the cool things was just seeing the just the student responses, both from the students from our FRC students and the students that were the teammates. So the first night, first of all, we didn't know what we were getting into. When we were looking up Unified and we were reaching out to them, they had examples of old games and how they did things, but they were planning a new game, which is this Buccaneers. And so we didn't really know what was going on, how to plan for the game. And so the first night I had a student there and we were just kind of having a team meeting and we are kind of explaining what's going on. And he's asking questions. And I said, I don't know really what's going to happen. This is the first time we've done this here. And he just, the response he gave was he just kind of looked at me because, oh, so we're making history. And I just thought that was for somebody who so much of society is going to take a look at and say, you have so little opportunity, for him to realize, hey, I get to be part of something big. I thought was really great. So that was really neat. Recently, so what we did is we partnered with our special ed department to have them identify students that they thought would be interested because they knew their students better than I do. And then with our unified director at our school. One of the neat things that has happened recently that I did not anticipate was as we're looking forward to next year and starting to make plans, is that we have students who really aren't involved with unified sports. They've been really resistant to join unified sports, but now that they're hearing that there's a unified robotics, they're actually going and talking to our athletic department, our DAPE teachers, our unified director to get involved with the unified sports as well. Which is not something that I was anticipating. I was anticipating that it would be, hey, we're leaning into you to identify students that we could reach out to. But now we have students that are looking at us and going, wait, I'm going to try this robotics thing, but I'm going to go talk to our athletic people as well. And they want to be part of the bigger unified experience. So that was really cool. And I put in here probably about 536 extra high fives and fist bumps over the last 5 months. So every time I walk down the hall, I don't work at the high school, although I'm there an awful lot for robotics, but I work in the elementary schools. And every time I see the students that run the team, it's high fives, fist bumps. I will see some of them just veered. They'll change direction, and it's a course correction. I'm going to come over, talk about robotics, or talk about the dinosaurs that they're building, the dinosaur puppets, or another sport that they're in. They'll may talk about their unified soccer or just all that sort of stuff. So just being able to, my world's getting a little bigger and meeting new people. I think it's really great that they have that too. So this is kind of our plans. So in Bemidji, we started with 2 teams this last year. Ideally, I would like to have a team of 1-to-1 of teammate and a partner, an athlete and a partner. And I would like to have about 10, but they can go up to having a 4 people total would be okay depending on the students, and Unified suggests not to go more than 6 people total on a team. We would like to host another regional mid-November. We are currently coordinating with Special Olympics of Minnesota to recruit schools. So I believe Megan Strong is the Special Olympics coordinator in Minnesota, and I've been sending her emails with links and so forth to reach out to any Special Olympics and Unified champion schools with information about Unified. We're working up here in northern Minnesota. We have 30 teams that are part of the Northern Minnesota Robotics Conference. And so I'm putting pressure on them to form teams as well. But there's a lot of, they're wanting to do that too. And one of the big things is then just kind of looking at grants. It's designed to be very inexpensive. There's no registration fee. The company is funded by Microsoft is a big supporter for them. And basically it's the cost of making sure you have a Lego kit, Spike Prime. And then, if you want to have t-shirts or just any of the things that you would use to run a club, if you want to have snacks, those things are kind of the incidental expenses that crop up. So, and I've been fortunate that I have a lot of grant opportunities out here to take care of the big event and our local events too. It's been surprisingly easy to have people that want to donate to this, to invest in this. So those are some of our plans. and just kind of how you can get started, how we get started. So one of the best ways is to reach out to your school's unified Special Olympics teacher director. Reach out to the special ed department, anybody who's teaching special education, to kind of help with facilitating who's involved in the state and so forth. There's you can create an account through portal.unifiedrobotics.org, and you can register as a new school organization. And they have a guidebook there as well. And we'll go over some of the stuff that's in the guidebook here in a few minutes, mainly with the outline of the schedule. But it's pretty easy. It's not our game manual for FRC by any stretch of the imagination. So timeline is kind of, we're in that kind of at the bottom of it right now, the January through June, which is stay in contact with new friends, reflect in the season, and set goals for the next season. So for us right now, our goal is we would like to see, 100,000-fold increase in participation in Minnesota. Right now, it is in Texas, Washington, Ontario, Australia. I think there's some in Michigan. Am I right, Quinn?
They no longer have their teams in Michigan.
Okay, they don't have the teams in Michigan. But I think that's mainly it right now. But it's something I think there's a lot of interest from what I could see at championships, because I think there were 2 separate sessions on this program. One from Delaney and Andrew and the people who had kind of been working through them officially, as well as First in Texas that had been doing it and just not officially registering, but they've still been running events. And so we would just like to see this really grow. So now is a great time to kind of just let your special ed people, our people with Special Olympics and special education know, hey, take a look at this, kind of get them thinking towards it. And then if they have questions, they can certainly reach out to us and we can explain how we've done things. And then through the summer, we'll be working on kind of more preparation marketing. And then as the school year starts, towards middle to endish of September is when they'll release the game and they'll release, what's going on. And then it's basically, you can host a season kickoff in your own school. As far as running the events, my recommendation would be one night a week or one hour a week. It doesn't have to be very intensive. It shouldn't be intense. It should just be at the pace that the students can handle. Realistically, this last year, Dean Bucephalus is the one, they're out of Australia. They're the ones designing the games. They have a whole bunch of games that use this. And they will actually send the plans for kind of an every bot, if you will, with the code. And so literally you can have people just follow the directions. That's what our students did. And then as they built it, they immediately started to modify, mainly for aesthetic reasons. And the aesthetic reasons quite often counteracted the functionality of it, but they had a blast. And so it's really, realistically, you could have it in an afternoon. You could have a robot up and running. So come up with your own, people will just come up with their own schedule. And then November for us up in northern Minnesota, currently the plan is the weekend before Thanksgiving to have a regional style competition in our commons area. Also, kind of backing up a little bit, we have our NMRC Open and Championship at the end of October. And so we'll be taking a session during that time to kind of have a build day. So anybody who's wanting to start a unified team can come over and we'll make sure that they have a working robot. Help them build, help them we'll spend some time with that and dedicate some resources for students to come over to not only be part of the big First Robotics competitions, but just kind of tie the two together. So, and then long term down the road, as we see the program grow, they would actually like to have a national, international championship as well, which they do in other unified sports as well. The unified basketball, I know our team hasn't gone to the national, international competition, but they've gone to state, and it's a big deal for our students, and they really enjoy it. And in our school, unified is just something that is, it's just part of what we do. And so when we kind of found out that there's a roadmap for unified robotics, it just made sense to us. Even though we had no idea really what to expect, it's like, we're going to expect something good. So yeah, and this slide has some more information and contacts, but which I did post in the comments, so everybody should be able to see them. If not, I can repost, but kind of that's it. And but I could go, answer more questions. I thought this would be kind of a good way to do a quick overview, but if anybody has any other questions, challenges we faced, things that worked well, things that didn't work well, we can certainly go over some of those things too. But I'll kind of leave it open to some questions at this point.
Kirk, you said that you prefer to have a one-on-one, and the unified group recommends no more than 6. Do you think that one-on-one works the best because it eliminates conflict, or there's just not enough work for more than one athlete to work on? Can you give us some more background on how many we could kind of squeeze through the program based on how many kits we have is realistic?
Yeah. So the reason I like one-on-one is because it really fosters the relationship between a student and a partner. That's really what it comes down to. Because is you really have a chance to focus. Because anytime you start to get a group of students, a group of people, you generally have a person or two that starts to dominate, and this would allow. This kind of helps with having them have an equal voice and actually developing that friendship really and that relationship. Can you do 2? Can you do 4? Can you do 6? Absolutely. We had teams of, we had a team of 4, and it worked out really, really well. But I can see a benefit to keeping it low. But yeah, if when it comes down to, you don't have the kits, you put them on there. And it's just a matter of maybe making sure, as a coach, to make sure everybody's voices are heard and to foster the relationship. But that's really why and then if you pair them up with differing abilities too, if you have somebody who works quicker and somebody who works slower, that actually is not a bad combination, because you can slow things down. And again, that kind of depends on how much time you're investing into it, whether it's after school, before school, hour a week, hour every 2 weeks. On one hand, you don't want to go too quick. On the other hand, the quicker you go, as we know, you build a robot, and then you can start iterating and, hey, let's try this, let's break it and start over from scratch. Same thing.
Can you tell us more about the grant programs? We just bought a Prime kit with an expansion pack so that we could test that out for summer camps or supporting an FLL challenge team in the fall. I think, if I'm remembering right, it was about $700 for the kit plus the expansion. Now, it doesn't sound like you need the expansion for this. Is that right?
Yeah, we haven't had to use the expansion. So one grant that
$400 for just the Prime kit. Does that sound right?
Yep, $400 for the Prime kit. And currently, last year they could still use the Mindstorm. Is that the previous one?
Yeah, Mindstorm 3 is still, at least this past year, you could still use that for FLL. But since we were buying brand new kits, we started with Strike Prime.
Yeah, and that's anybody who's buying new kits, I would certainly say go Prime.
I was going to say the conference that I attended at Champs said that they support EV3 as well as of right now.
Yep. And Quinn, I think you guys built one for the Tech Expo that was EV3 or Maxim. Was that correct?
We did, yeah. It didn't work very well though, sadly.
So yeah, the cost of it would just be the kit itself, which I believe is $400. In our initial grant was run through the Fee Fi Full Fum grant, and they were very supportive of us. We were able to buy a couple kits, and then that was also able to run our awards. We get some material for certificates, and we made some medals to hand out, and basically had a pizza party and did shirts for the volunteers, and we did shirts for our team as well. And that was all actually within the Fee Fi Full Fum. So they're willing to work with this too. I would be willing to bet that anybody who needed to buy some kits. Our Unified Advisory Council, I think it is, they have actually reached out to me saying, "What do you need?" Because they've been fundraising. United Way has just in not asking, but just talking with our United Way director, has said, "Well, if you need something, please come to us." This is something that they're very interested in funding. And I want to say that we have some money designated for this as part of the deed grant that was awarded through the state last year too. I got double check with Matt, but I know he was writing that in there. So, but as far as individuals reaching out to grants, I would certainly suggest the FUM grant. This fits right in with that. And then if you have Special Olympics or Unified, if you work with them, and United Way in the community, those are all areas that my experience has been they're very, very excited to see this grow.
You talked about ways to identify your athletes. How have you been recruiting the students to work with the athletes?
So our students, last year I actually recruited two ways. One is I recruited our FRC students. If you're in RoboJack, I kind of expected that you're going to participate in this one way or the other. Another way is I just asked a few students that I knew that were involved with Unified as partners already and asked if they'd be willing to start with this. And moving forward here, so we have a Unified club at our school. And right now that we're kind of in transition, we switched to a 4-period day, from a 4-period day to a 5-period day. And so our before school times are a lot less, but we had been meeting before school, and it was a chance for Unified teammates and partners to just get together, say hi, have a donut, sign up for any activities, any competitions, activities that were coming up. And so I'm utilizing that as well. So working with my Unified director is actually where I'll probably be focusing most of the time. Last year, I worked with the special ed department, and which was good. They identified some students. Ironically, with special ed, what I was running into more than anything else was, well, let me see if I can find somebody who can do this. And it's like, no, this isn't find somebody who wants to do it. I don't care if you think they can do it or not. Find somebody who wants to, and we'll help them achieve what they can. For some students, success might be that they were able to put 2 blocks together the entire season, due to motor skills, due to attention spans, maybe that's their level of success. But it's just like, find the students who want to take advantage of this opportunity, the parents who want their students to have this opportunity, and not look at what the students' abilities or disabilities are. That actually was my biggest challenge, was convincing teachers that, no, this kid who's in a wheelchair could do it. So if you have, what I would really recommend is if you have somebody who's doing Unified sports, Special Olympics, reaching out to them, which is what we did in the summer. And then if you can also have somebody who can volunteer that one day a week to just kind of help bridge that gap between having students with special abilities in your after school. There's some communication issues, there's sensory, I think we've probably all, had our students who maybe I think in my team, students who are on the ASD spectrum and who are an absolute benefit to the team, but need that time to step back. They need that quiet time. They need that sensory breaks. And sometimes somebody who has worked with the students, who knows their IEP, can help us identify what things might we need to accommodate for to have them an enjoyable and successful experience. So working with the case managers, just kind of getting some insights from them, and parents too. The parents that I worked with were phenomenal, and just like, well, what do you need to help?
I think I think something interesting here that is sticking out in my head is an opportunity for our team to work with other student leadership programs within the school, other parts of the school. It would be great for our team to get kind of their fingers into other parts of the school, I think. So that's really interesting to me. I mean, I think it has the opportunity to create some really interesting partnerships inside the school.
Yeah, I agree. Oh yeah, acronym. Sorry about that. Little bit of my background is when I started in education, I actually started in special education. I was a special education paraprofessional. ASD is autism spectrum disorder, or no, not DDD. Autism spectrum. I think the D's changed. Yeah. And ironically, that's actually what led me into technology. IT is I had a student who had language issues, and he was always breaking his computer that would do the speaking for him, like every single day. So every single day, I was reprogramming it, reloading software, sometimes reloading operating systems, and that's kind of what got me to where I'm at today. So it's kind of fun for me to kind of come back full circle.
Can you describe how your regionals are set up?
Oh yes, absolutely. So, so what we did for our regional was we held it in our commons area, our cafeteria, versus a gym. Out in Seattle or Washington, they usually host them in a gym, kind of like what we would do with if you had an FRC regional, you'd probably host it in a gym. We have a large commons area that is carpeted, and it has acoustic tiles on the ceiling. And what that does is it deadens the sound. You can still pipe sound into it, but it's not as lively. And we found that really helps with kind of keep the sensory overload down a little bit. So what we did for regional is so this year was just 4 teams. So I just created a couple 3 round robin qualification matches type things, 3 levels of round robin. Got some seedings, and we had a playoff. The whole thing took a couple hours. And then what we ended up doing was, because it was a small group this year, we had a pizza party for an awards banquet, and everybody who was there, spectators, parents, we just joined in for that. We had some referees, and I'll kind of back up maybe a little bit on this slide. Let's see here if I can. So there's some pictures of our regional, some of our volunteers. The bottom right-hand corner is the game in action. So the game changes this year. It was a robot versus robot, and you had a winner, and you just kept track of wins and losses, and then you would have a playoff bracket. Tom, I think you have a question.
Yeah. So a couple things that kind of pop up, and hopefully I didn't just miss it. How, well, I'll throw them out one at a time, I guess. How does mentoring work? Can you talk to that a little bit?
It looks a lot different. So what I would do is, so I ended up kind of being the coach. I had recruited another special education teacher to come in and coach. but she was creating 3 new classes at the same time, and she was not able to make most of them. So for me, a lot of it was just kind of helping guide students learning how to work together. So as far as it looks different because it's more exploratory. If that kind of helps, it's not as technical. We're using the Lego. Probably the mentoring that required the most was kind of figuring out the programming side of things because we don't have a history of Lego League in our school. We do have now, but our students haven't come through. So we had very few students who had participated in that. And then finding out the things that were wrong. Probably the biggest thing I did was when we were trying our robots out, and it was just put the white tape on the carpet, as you might be able to see in the pictures. We just put the tape on the carpet. Well, the carpet on the floor was a multicolored carpet, and the color sensors couldn't tell that it was white versus other colors and would not follow the tracking. So just kind of some of those things that you would think like, oh, this should be simple, and realizing, oh, things aren't so simple. So just providing the resources was really the mentoring that we ended up doing. As far as building, they had a build guide and they could do whatever they wanted. They could build it and then modify it as they would. So just kind of making sure that the conversations with the students and the communication stayed open and keeping everybody participating and not letting somebody take over and go the complete opposite direction.
So can I follow up with a little,
Yeah.
Dassel, or are you responding to this also?
No, go ahead.
So then one of the things I think about, Kirk, is that you mentioned your special education background and early ed, I don't know if that's the right term, background. How do you, it seems like it's very far out of my skill set, I would put it that way. Any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I would say probably the biggest thing is remembering that they're people first. Everybody's a person first, and to always try to phrase your communication with somebody with a lot of respect, which can be tough. A lot of us, I think when it comes, I work in the IT department at the school. I'm the weird one because I like to talk to people. And I think when we work with technical folks, a lot of us we are comfortable with our systems and our engineering and so forth. But I agree. Yeah, not everybody is easy. It might not be in a sense for everybody in the sense that I'm the one talking and communicating. But talking with somebody, if you know somebody who is in special education at your school, and just talking with them a little bit, it's probably, they can be a great resource. And just saying, hey, we're looking at doing this. When I'm communicating with your students, how do I do this?
Okay, so then I was kind of wondering you don't necessarily have someone trained in this area involved if you can.
You don't have to. I brought somebody in, and next year I have another person who is planning to join us, works in the special education department at our high school. They're a valuable resource. Somebody who works with the students, somebody that the students know. If you can get a paraprofessional that works with them to hang out with you. One of the things that I do plan on doing is running our program next fall through the 21st century learning communities, so that I can pay our volunteers. We can give them a payment or a stipend. Our pairs only work 35 hours a week, so there's a chance for them to supplement that through these programs. But yeah, if you can bring a paraprofessional in to work with them who's worked with the students, a lot of them actually do form close, I'm going to call it therapeutic. If they do it right, it's a therapeutic relationship. Some of them go to friendship, which is maybe a little too far, but they do form a bond. They form a bond, and having somebody who has a bond with these students, and you might surprise yourself. You'll see your students forming the bonds, and there'll be bonds with people you didn't expect. I had one of my students who signed up to help with the event at the absolute last minute. And this isn't his thing. And when we got done with the event, he came out to me and says, that was really, really a lot of fun, and really enjoyed that situation. So I can't say that that's going to be the case for everybody. And yeah, it's trying to understand a student who maybe has speech impairments, and having to really slow down and know that you are getting it wrong. You're not hearing what they're saying. Can kind of be humbling in a sense, but to take the time to try to listen and work through it, it can be really rewarding as well.
So thanks, Dessel, for being patient. So this might be my last follow-up then, especially with so you're saying that with an hour a week, maybe, and is this necessarily an after-school thing? Can it be a daytime or a school day thing?
I would love for us to have it as a daytime. We're exploring that. I was talking with our day teacher that does our Special Olympics. That would be my goal, would be to have it during the day. A lot of that has to do with transportation issues. A lot of our students in special education they have special education routes, buses, so that they don't have to ride the bus as long, so that they're not with as many students. Thanks, Dassel. Oh, I sometimes I forget how long I was in special education. So sometimes transportation can be, especially up here, where Bemidji School District is just slightly smaller in area than Rhode Island. So we have students who getting them home after school is a big deal because they have to go a long ways. And our 21st Century provides transportation for that. So if we run it through them, but ultimately being able to do it in school day, and I know there are some schools that have flex periods or unified, we might be able to do it through a unified Phi-Ed time. One of those hours a week, we can possibly utilize. Some of the students can come out for that. 21st Century is a grant. It's a program that gives grants to schools for learning. I don't know if it's so much learning recovery, but just for more learning opportunities. That's what our summer learning. So our summer school for our elementary, actually through high school, I think we have some of that. Not the credit recovery, but just additional. Hey, let's make sure you don't lose your reading skills, your math skills. Which actually is kind of fun because they're giving us an opportunity to take an afternoon on Mondays to run coding, some block coding and robot coding for our elementary students this summer too. So 21st Century, and then during the school year, they'll fund clubs, they'll fund after school tutoring. Our school, we did it for a while and then it went away, and now they're just trying to bring it back. So I think it's a federal level. No, I don't think it's a federal level funding process for supplemental activities for education. All right. Did I get most of your questions, Tom? All right. If you got more, just chime in. Dassel?
Yeah. So thinking of like our students who would be paired, and I can think of some people who would be interested, especially on your partner side, not your athletes. Did your team do any pre-teaching or like teaching as you went along in regards to like, I remember like when you were talking about like being really intentional with your language around students. Like, did you have to do a lot of pre-teaching before on like, here is how we are we're referring to like these students as athletes. We are, and then like any information regarding like their sensory needs or like processing needs as like you're going through this process together, and what did that look like?
Well, it was a mess this fall. It was just a fun mess. So part of what it was that I did not get the other teacher to come in like I had planned. The other one is we were converting our robot to swerve drive. So we had a bunch of technical things going because we'd never done swerve. So this was so we're running our unified program, and we had kids trying to get swerve modules, redoing the frame, rewiring the robot, trying to get some program on there. But what I did do, and I think this was the biggest thing, was I had a student who was already a unified partner through the other sports and activities. And she came on and said, I don't know anything about robots. You don't have to, work with the students. We're going to build this together. We have the instructions. I would certainly recommend to take some time to talk about that. I think one of the things, but this is one of the things we did do, is our fall, during that time, we actually went over our core values as a team. So we actually spent the first, what were some of the things we did, Quinn? Do you want to jump in on some of our value activities that we did? Because I think that helped us a lot to just kind of form and bond.
So one of the games sort of things we did was throwing eggs and bouncy balls at a wall. Don't entirely remember the activity, but that was to show which one was it? Was enthusiasm?
Yep.
To show how enthusiasm is good for the team, and we did activities like that for like 6 weeks before the season started. It was fun.
And that corresponded with our 6 weeks of unified. So yeah, we took those advantage of something like of those things to talk about. The egg one was once everybody got over their timidness of what is your crazy coach doing, was a lot of fun. Let's see. Did it? Yeah. Did I get most of the question answered, or is there more clarification? Okay.
Kirk, you mentioned the challenge with transportation, and that was going to be one of my questions. I coached at the middle school level for 3 or 4 years, and we could only meet for an hour and 15 minutes because they had to catch the activity bus home. Did you have any parent involvement to help out with transportation or anything like that? Was that an option, or do you try to keep the parents sort of out of the picture so that they're not a distraction from the task that you're trying to accomplish? Any insight into how that works?
Yeah, so with our students, the parents all actually came to pick them up. And something like this, my belief is that as a coach, and this is kind of coming into my own personal philosophy, what I do should be supplementing what the parents do. The parents are the biggest heroes in whether it's FRC or Unified or anything. They're the biggest heroes in my students' lives. I want everything I do to honor the parents. So the parents weren't a distraction. They, most of it was a matter of, okay, they're just pulling up to the door and the kids go out. But I actually tried to make it a point. In high school, it's very difficult to meet parents. So I would go out, if I hadn't met the parents before, we'd communicate via email. I would go out the first couple of times with the student to actually meet the parents or the grandparents. We have some students who actually grandparents are very, very prominent role in their lives, in their day-to-day lives. So meeting who their families are was actually very important to me. But yeah, they were the ones who were providing the transportation, and it just so happened that worked out this year. But as we grow, the odds are I'm going to have students who want to do this that don't have reliable transportation. Parents work, or parents don't have transportation themselves in our area. So I want to find ways to not let that be a obstacle. So ultimately, doing it during the school day would be perfect. But with we're still getting used to our new schedule. I know Jackie Stoffel, who's our FIED and adaptive FIED teacher. She's trying to find some ways to accomplish the same thing. So, yeah, it's just the parents picked up the slack this year. But I know for us up here, our demographics, it's a barrier. Transportation, even for my FRC students, it's a barrier. We're very rural. Bemidji itself is a town of 15,000, so there's a lot of people in town, but we have a very large geographic area, a lot of gravel roads that people live down. So it's just something I'm always aware of. I want to mention this before I get off the rails too far. On Wednesday, in the comments, I think it was the first item I pinned, the unifiedrobotics.org/new region session. They're actually hosting a informational through Microsoft Teams on Wednesday night at I think 6 our time on basically a lot of this, but more information and advice they have that Andrew and Delaney have for starting in a new region, starting a new team, new school. So I'll be on that call as well, just because I still consider us a new region and a new team, but they might be able to answer some questions and might be able to provide some more resources as well. And by all means, reach out to them. They're seeing it across multiple continents, so they have a lot of ideas too. So I just wanted to bring that out there as well.
Kirk, can you go back to the schedule slide?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember when kind of kickoff all happens. I remember you have regionals in sort of middle to late November, but
Yep.
when do you find out when does the game manual drop?
So the game drops. It dropped this last year on. Let me just pull up the calendar. It was mid September, mid to late September. Let's see if I have it marked on my calendar. Last year it was on the 21st of September that it dropped. And then each region, this is kind of the neat thing about it. We wanted to try to do it with a team. Red Lake, it's about 40 minutes, about 40-minute drive from Bemidji. They also had a couple students that did unified robotics. A couple of them are on their actual robotics team too, which was really neat. There was anyway, it's the end of there, but you don't have to go to a regional if your students don't want to. It's not like it's a requirement. Some students might want to just build and not actually go, but I think we know how exciting it is to have that experience to go meet other people. But again, we kind of planned for about 6 weeks from there to have the competition, and really it's 6 weeks of friendship building is what it amounts to. You can build the robot in 45 minutes. Tom.
You've kind of pointed that out a couple times, how easy it is to build. I was going to ask if it makes sense to front load time a little bit to make sure there's not stress towards the end of those 6 weeks if you're only going an hour a week. But so if you feel like having any comment to that, that'd be great.
You kind of have to read your students for that one, in a sense. When we had it, Red Lake hadn't figured out the coding, which really was just swapping a couple wires around. I cheated. I didn't rewrite the code. I just saw what was going on and switched a couple of wires. We did that the day of. So it kind of depends on your situation and what's the expectation, I guess. Yeah, I would say if you can. We ended up kicking it up more towards the middle, maybe, of our intensity of building. And by kicking up, I don't mean like we really focus. It was just we maybe just kind of I made sure that we completed a few more steps in the book, following the direction inside. Like I said, we met for an hour and a half. We were done. I think we spent maybe a couple sessions troubleshooting the code, but otherwise, with the 20 minutes to half hour of team building activities, left us maybe 45 minutes of actual build time, and we were done a couple weeks ahead of time without and not knowing that this was what it was going to be like. And we actually had one of our teams start later, so we had a team that did it probably in 2 or 3 weeks, 2 or 3 sessions, and kept it pretty low key. And if you have a regular somebody who's got some Lego experience, it can be cranked out pretty fast. I've gone back and rebuilt them in about 45 minutes when we've had demonstrations up here. So it's about what the students are comfortable with. And some students are going to be comfortable showing up and not having something that works because they want to look cool. We had that. Lisa.
So do they have these challenges archived that we can look at them and sort of snoop out what has been done before and get an idea of what are the technical difficulties we think we might run into?
Yeah, actually, if you go to Unified Robotics, the unifiedrobotics.org, I'm just going to take a quick peek on if I can find it in my mess of bookmarks. I think right now they're asking you to sign up to get the guidebook, but within the guidebooks they have all of the I think they still have the one from last year. There we go. Yep, season archives. Yes, that. So what they were prior, when they first started, it was basically a sumo wrestling match. So you put 2 robots together and they were in it was a white fiberboard with a black circle around the outside, and your robot had to stay in that black circle and try to push the other one out. And they did that for a couple of years. And then with COVID, they modified it to have timed races where you had to clear the circle of basically like red solo cups. Clearing those out with the robot that would kind of seek and push them out. And they did that for a couple of years. And then last year was the first year they did Buccaneers. And now I think the plan is to drop a new game pretty much every year. It sounds like it's 5895 Project Bucephalus. They were one of the finalists for the Impact finalists this year. They have a lot of games that they've designed over the years for this. So they've been kind of doing something similar in Australia, and then they've connected with Unified. And so they're working hand in hand with them to provide games and game development. But yeah, the past seasons, take a look at those. That kind of gives you an idea of what it's like. It's meant to be competitive. It's meant to be kind of a 1 versus 1. It's not Lego League where you're trying to complete tasks and missions. It's we're trying to score more points than the team we're up against right now. And it was a lot of fun. Actually, that was one of the things that kind of surprised me in a sense, was when we sat down to play it, that how much fun everybody actually had just playing it. And our idea within FIRST, we have gracious professionalism, but anybody who's been involved with Special Olympics, they have their oath that they say at the beginning, their creed that, um, basically something about, I want to try to win, but if I can't win, let me be brave in the attempt. And it's about the journey, and it was for our students too. Let's see here.
Kirk, I think you may have addressed this a little bit, but if so, you guys are quite a ways away. Do you any thoughts of what it would take to have a regional in the metro if we decide to put one on?
Space and a few volunteers. So they in the guidebook, they have, these are all the volunteer roles that we would need. Everything from, basically what you need is somebody who's willing to take the regional director type role or event coordinator. And I'd be willing to come down and help with that too. Anything to take a drive and do this. But basically, if you have a space that can handle however many teams there's going to be, they recommend having about 10, maybe 12 teams per division, and you can have multiple divisions at a regional. So obviously we had half a division with 4 teams, but just to kind of keep the game flow going, and then you could have playoffs within those divisions, and then have a final playoff at the end if you wanted. But basically, you need space that would be big enough to handle kind of pits, which would just be a table. We don't need a lot of space. The game area was, I would say, probably about a 4x8 area would work. This year, what my plan is this year is to actually create a raised platform so that a student that may be wheelchair bound can still participate. We just did it on the carpet this last year, just on the ground, but I want to raise it up. We contemplated doing that, but I didn't want the robots to drive off the table and really look like they got hit with a cannonball. But we'll probably build some platforms that have edges to prevent kind of like the
Lego League.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, just space and somebody willing to run to either run as the regional or run the competition, kind of lining up volunteers. It doesn't take much, and they give kind of some recommended guidelines for time, how much time to spend with things. They have a list of awards to hand out, and it is important to recognize the students too. I don't necessarily like to do just participation. We do that, but to actually take a look and say, okay, this robot really, they put a lot of effort into the decorating. We had students who dressed up as pirates. They came to the conference. They probably saw that in some of our pictures, but they got into it. I mean, our one student, he was all about. He was a pirate. He came in, loved it. And so, best decorated, obviously for the competition side, first, second, third. We actually renamed ours, like privateer was first place, and then I think we had sunken wreck as the kind of your last place participation trophy, or new coral reef or something. And the kids just had a blast with it. The different names that we came up with that.
Is a regional 2-3 hours? Is there any concern with it's too long for the kids to last through the event?
Yeah. The recommendation would probably be to have the whole thing in 4 hours or less.
Okay.
In terms of the student involvement there. Let's just see if I've got Quinn, do you have access to the book right now?
I do. I can get it in a second. Hold up.
Okay, yeah, I'll let you look that up too. But they actually do give a recommendation of this is when you want to do this. Having an
Mhm.
opening ceremonies. They have a
Okay.
list of the different awards that they would have people give out.
So
The
what I'm hearing is that just follow the book and you'll be fine.
Follow the
Like,
book, yeah,
yeah.
literally.
Okay. So
We actually had to make up more stuff because we were small.
the idea that I don't know what I'm getting myself into doesn't really apply if you've read the manual.
Yeah, yeah. Read the manual, and it walks you through it. And like I said, now that I've been through it, and this was, I think, the first year they really came out. They have a good manual.
So the manual says the event typically lasts 2 hours and to include breaks throughout the event.
And I would say, yeah, take it easy. I mean, the goal is to have fun. The goal is it for it to be a enjoyable, fulfilling experience. And and that's what we had. We had a lot of fun. And like I said, we've got it brought some students out. Some of our students in special education, their world got a little bigger, but so did our FRC students. Their world got bigger too. And as you can tell, this is something that when this kind of came to us, it was like, yeah, we want to do this. So, if you're wanting to do this, and maybe it's not you, but somebody else that you are, trying to help get going at your school or in your community, by all means, reach out to me. Um, I would be careful over lights and music. Um, um, Not to overdo it. We don't want it to be dead, but um, you just don't want it to be too loud. But as far as content, the same stuff that we have at an FRC event, that's fine. I would maybe avoid too much flashing lights and bringing house lights up and down. I would try to keep some of that. And this is just me looking at sensory stuff. Um, and you kind of have to gauge and listen to the people who are there, the people who know the students, encourage them to be, hey, if a student if you see your student, the person you're with who's having an issue and you think it might be because of being overstimulated, maybe we do that. Another really important thing that I didn't touch on, the manual touches on this, is have a quiet space. Have a space nearby that is calming, low stimulus, someplace where somebody can just go and collect themselves.
Yeah, I was just about to ask that about that because I think in Champs they had like rooms like that for people
Yep.
if things got too loud or stuff.
Yes. And we didn't utilize it, but we had a couple rooms. We have I guess it's a computer lab right off the main door where but we also didn't have our music going this time. It's something we just kind of overlooked in our first one. I want to have some music and maybe some lights this next one. But fortunately, and this is kind of really a neat kind of I'll sidetrack this one, side story in this one. So we were setting up for our event or getting ready to set up, and there was a group of students that were down there playing music and practicing a dance routine. Turns out we had a unified dance group that had reserved the gym, and the basketball teams came in and went, well, we need the gym. And even though they had reserved it, they were sent down to where we were setting up. And they were so apologetic. But I'm like, no, this is perfect. You guys, we didn't need all the space. And they actually had some music for us while we were setting up. So it was, in my mind, it was perfect. And it was a good chance for them to see that there's a lot of other unified activities out there. We have our basketball, our volleyball, bowling, but then there's unified dance. Now there's unified robotics. We've got a unified music program in our school. I can't remember. Spitballing, why not a unified speech program? There's so many things that we can get students of differing abilities involved together in. So anyway, coming back around, have music. Just probably be cognizant of the volume. If you're in a gym, that's where you're probably going to see overstimulation. If you're in a gym, because it echoes. It's not a one sound. One sound makes several sounds because of the wood floors and the bleachers and that stuff. A library, actually, if you have a large library space, that might not be, if the event's not too big, might not be a bad spot.
Kirk, I don't remember if you said this. What was the grade range that you had your students?
Great question, actually. We did high school. This year, I already have 2 middle school students that have said they want to do this. So yeah, Quinn, we're going to have some middle schoolers this year. Just giving you a warning. I would say for this grade range, the range we have would be high school, middle school through high school. Elementary can certainly do it, but I would do a separate event if you're going to have like a regional type thing. I would not have elementary with middle school and high school. You could maybe do elementary and middle school, or middle school and high school, but I wouldn't combine all 3. Quinn, anything else you want to add?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, I don't have a problem. I mean, we're not that far off of the 8:30 time frame. I'm happy to end this early. Let's make a couple last calls. Any last calls for questions here or anything? I mean, we got 20 more minutes if you guys want to chat. Otherwise, we can end
And we
it
can
early.
chat about other stuff too if you guys want.
So at events, would like providing earplugs also be good too?
Pardon me?
At events, would providing earplugs be good for noise?
If a student needs them, earplugs or the headphones, that's not a bad idea. Sometimes, quite often, what I would really suggest is, as you get to know the students, and assuming we have an event with multiple schools, that each school understands their students' individual education plan, that kind of in that will specify, hey, these are the accommodations they need, that they need sensory breaks, that they are sensitive to noise or sudden movements, or men with facial hair, and just kind of be aware of the things that may be difficult for a student. And I say those things because those are all things that I've experienced. So for some students, yeah, being aware of noise and accommodation might be earplugs or headphones. Might be, if somebody just bright lights, flashing lights, we may want to keep those down. I would not say do away with light shows entirely. But then, just like I said, some people don't do well with men. I've had that where, okay, I have to keep my distance from this person because about November on, I start to look like a lumberjack. Actually, there are some students on my team who have not seen me ever like this. But yes, being aware of different sensory things, Paul, is important. And you will find something that is unexpected. There'll be somebody that's like, oh, I didn't know that this would induce anxiety. And then it's just a matter of, and that's where having somebody who has some experience with special education is very beneficial. Although I would say most teams that I've seen in first, and I would argue most teams that I've come across, we have students on our teams that do have sensory, I don't know, limitations is the right word, but need to take sensory breaks, or that I think of a lot of organizations, FIRST is pretty aware of that. And so same things that our other students, sometimes we need a break. And so do our other students.
Yeah, you can't. So you are right. Because sometimes it's really hard to know what would produce anxiety for somebody, because you never really know why it would produce anxiety. But once you know what causes it, you just gotta try your best to help it with them or help them
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah. And I would say one of the challenges working with some of our special education students is that, well, this is with all of us. Some of us, we get upset. I get upset about something. I don't know why. I just know I'm upset. And so sometimes it takes us to work through with somebody why I'm upset and what I need to do to calm down. Even at 50 years old, I don't use that against me, Quinn. Sometimes I need somebody to help me process my own emotions. And a lot of our students in special education, they may lack the verbal skills and the processing skills to understand that they're even worked up. But being able, then that's where having a quiet room, a sensory room, somewhere to get away to help them kind of reset. And I think we all need that. And sometimes that just makes it even that much more easier too. Just remember that they need to reset. Well, so do I. How many of us have, we get away we have a vacation or a lake home or this place we go to that this is where we quiet down. This is where we do we go do this. We're at this place and it allows us to function better. My parents have a cabin that we're working on north of Bemidji, and that's where I go to kind of reset. So I have the same thing. I have places where I need to get away from sensory, get away from robotics, as strange as that may sound, get away from technology and just kind of reset myself.
Yeah, I don't know. It also doesn't always need to be something big. It sometimes could also be something like as small as a nap that can help with it, but it depends sometimes.
It's amazing what a snack and a nap will do.
Yeah.
I highly recommend doing those two things as frequently as possible.
What about coffee?
It counteracts the nap.
All right. Does anyone have any final questions here before we wrap it up for the night?
Health.
Kirk, do you have any? Are you willing to share your contact info if anyone wants to follow up with you directly? I know that you have the questions for the Unified in there.
Yes. So my contact, I'll throw that in here as well.
And can you just shout it out for us?
Yep,
For those
it's
that are gonna
Kirk_Anderson at ISD31.net.
Okay, good. So the folks that are listening to this on the YouTube, they won't see the comments. Well, actually, they did pop up. Okay, good.
Yep. So I'll throw that right there. So that's one way. Another one, let me throw this one out as well. So here is our through the Northern Minnesota Robotics Conference. That one is I keep pretty strictly with robotics related things.
Okay.
And so my other one is my work account, and there's a chance things may get buried in there with server alerts and policy violation alerts and all the other emails that get help desk emails, so on and so forth.
Sure.
So the other one I keep pretty much that's strictly robotics stuff.
So to wrap up here, what I heard you say, and add, please correct or add to it, but start working with your special ed professionals at the schools now and through the summer. Start looking for students who are interested in participating for this as athletes. Talk to your FRC robotics students about becoming partners, and maybe look for other partnerships with other student programs in the school. Get yourself a Spark kit, but you don't need the expansion set. Just the base Spark kit will work. Kick off in mid to late September.
Yep.
Follow the manual, and you can put on an event if you want. Any other things that just kind of summary information that you think got to keep on top of our heads here?
That's pretty much it. Yeah. Just I would suggest, yeah, again, talking with your special education department prior to the summer break, just to kind of get them thinking about it. And even maybe mentioning it to your administration too, as well, that this is something you're trying to do.
Oh, and then middle school, high school, or
Middle school, high school, or
middle school, elementary, but not both, not all three.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that was an important one too. All right. Well, thank you so much. This is a really interesting session, and I have so many ideas now as a result of this. The team's always looking for new ways to make an impact either in the school or in the community, and it sounds really great. I'm very excited that you brought this to our attention.
Yeah. Well, and thank you to Dossel too for reaching out to me and inviting us to come to this, because I'm excited, and I'm excited to see more teams excited about this.
And Kirk, did I hear, are you giving a presentation at Jumpstart the next fall on this?
Yeah, I'll do it again. I did it last year.
Okay.
But I would love to do it again. And any team that does this, maybe we all do it together.
Sure. And you're talking about Jumpstart and Becker, right?
Yep.
Or St. Cloud, I guess. Yeah. If you're interested, I will. If you don't see it, I might reach out to you too to see if you want to come down and do it at the one at Medtronic in the Metro.
Oh, I would love to.
I think if you're willing to make the drive, or maybe somebody else can do it for you. It sounds really good. I think this was a great presentation. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you guys. Thanks for all you guys do hosting these roundtables. It's they're really a great resource to have.
Yeah, I can't speak for everyone, but I've so enjoyed it, and it's been great to make relationships with other teams through the roundtable, and we look forward to continuing it. We're going to take a break in the summer.
Yes.
Oh, so there's my nightly plug. We've got three opportunities left this before summer break here, and I want to verify. Yep. So we got 3 spots open: the 12th, the 19th, and the 26th. That'll be the end of our season. So if there's something that you're interested in presenting on, or just hosting a conversation, it doesn't have to be a presentation. Please go sign up, team2052.com/roundtable, all lowercase, and you can find, there's a link there to sign up to host a conversation. Please do that. Otherwise I got to scramble and I got to figure out something. So it helps us out a lot if folks are willing to host a conversation like Kirk and Quinn did tonight. So we really appreciate it. All right. Any last thoughts from anyone before we sign off?
What was the Lego League thing you were talking about, Scott? Or was the team planning to do something like that?
So for those on the call, Paul is one of our students on Nightcrawler, and so their first has Lego League, and Lego League Challenge uses, there's 3-4 levels now. The top 2 levels use a Spike Prime kit, or maybe it's just the top one. And we bought a kit recently because we wanted to take a look and explore how this works. So now we have a kit, and we can run this pirate game and try it out and see what we think of it. So go ahead, Paul.
Sorry, I was just gonna say. So was the team planning to start a Lego League team?
Maybe we hadn't gotten that far yet. I think the idea was we were hoping to support a Lego League team if we found a group that wanted to start one but didn't have the kit. but the step one is understanding what it is and how it works, which is why we bought the kit. But now we can use it for this. So we'll have to evaluate what we want to do. If we like it, either one of them, I'm sure we're going to be buying more kits.
It's Legos. They're fun.
Yeah. How can you go wrong, right? So, alrighty. Well, thanks again, everyone. I hope to see everyone on the call next week, or at least one of the 3 calls that we have left of the year. It was great. Awesome. Good stuff for everyone. Enjoy your Sunday evening.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Kirk.
That's it for this week's FRC Roundtable. Join us live all season long, every Sunday night. Visit the website at team2052.com/roundtable to sign up for weekly invites. In the meantime, keep building, keep learning, and we'll see you next week.